occupational health in small-scale enterprises and informal sector. So, the in case of the International Ergonomics Association, the committee, technical committee, is the technical committee for the informal work, and kindly they endorse this symposium. So we are going to start with the symposium. There will be the three speakers in the symposium: Professor Pranav Nag, Professor Anindo Ganguly, and Professor Dev Kumar Chakraborty. They will discuss about the design thinking and how we can apply this in the informal sector. And there are the three eminent speakers. So I don't want to go more long about this in the inaugural session. So may I ask Dr. Rajan Haldar, our head of the Department of Physiology, because this program is organized by the University of Calcutta and the Department of Physiology. So may I ask Dr. Haldar to come over here and to say a few words about our department. Please, Dr. Haldar, please come. Please come.
Thank you, Professor Gangopadhyay, for inviting me and giving me the scope to say a few words regarding the Department of Physiology. Basically, I would not extend my talk. I'll come to the specific point. First of all, I would say that the audience and the dignitaries, no one is here in the stage, and off the stage, the research scholars, the master degree students. So all are basically, they are my teachers. I learn from every people. Some are my direct teachers, some indirect. Even I learn from my students also. Whenever I get criticism from any of you, that is my inspiration to correct myself. So before I say some words regarding the institution of the physiology in University of Calcutta or in India, I'd like to share a small story how physiology came to my life. It is basically was a dream to become a doctor. It is basically many bodies aim. So I attempted for joint entrance but failed. That fortunate actually let me come here. So I thought that I'll complete my honors in physiology because it's the base of all medical science. So at that time, after my HS, high secondary, I knew that the physiology is the basis, is the base of all medical science. So I choose it and I completed honors. And after my graduation, I get I got this opportunity to take admission in master's degree in Calcutta University, and I completed it. But during my master's course, a small story was there that I couldn't have any idea that how I'll be a doctor, because when I was in graduation, it was my plan that after graduation, after completing the honors course, I'll again attempt for joint entrance so that I would be a very good doctor with a very basic knowledge in physiology honors completed. So the unfortunate thing was uh, I used to give tuition to a student during my master's course for joint entrance admission medical course. So it is really very embarrassing. The teacher and student both will sit for the same exam. So that's why I decided that I will not take part in medical. Rather, I will go for higher education. So that possibly the fortunate that I'm here in front of you. So uh, physiology, basically it was founded in Presidency College, now it is Presidency University, in 1902 by Professor S.C. Maharanish. It was under the basic science uh, in the Department of Biology. It was taught along with zoology and botany. But in 1904, uh, it got an independent capacity to form the Department of Physiology and at the same Presidency College, now it's Presidency University. And later on, when it was continued up to 1927, and then the PG department at the Presidency University, it was opened here. So one thing I would like to mention that uh, Professor E.H. Darling, the Nobel laureate, he visited the Department of Physiology at Presidency College in 1915. Later, another Nobel laureate also visited there, but in 1935, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, the then Vice Chancellor of the university, uh, took two important resolutions. That as in 1927, the PG department that was open in the Presidency University that would be run as it was, along with PG department in the University of Calcutta will also be instituted. So in 1937, the PG department shifted to Rajabajar Science College to Rajabajar Science. It is basically the Rajbihari Shiksha Pandan. So it is the basic foundation of the physiology at this campus. So I think this information may be helpful for many of you. You should know the physiology and its foundation. And sir, Professor Ganguly, may I say a few words regarding your ergonomics?
Yes, not my argument. It's also your argument.
No, sir. That's not
You
my
are the
point.
head. Actually, he is my student. He was my student. But now he is my boss. He is the
I,
department head.
sir, I was your student.
No,
So
you are still you are.
yeah,
Thank
I'm still your student. I still learn from you. So now, at the beginning, you just informed me to say a few words regarding the physiology. That's why I just I asked your permission. So basically, the ergonomics, it was more than 5 decades ago. So at the same time, when the European Productivity Agency established a human factor section, Indian ergonomics, the, it was actually this Indian ergonomics, it was generally thought to have been born in the Department of Physiology at the same time around 1955 around. So basically, there was extensive work that was done on the energy metabolism of rickshaw puller and body surface area of the Indian adult population. So the first teaching in ergonomics that was took place at the Department of Physiology, University of Calcutta. This is the first place where ergonomics was first taught. The year was around 1971, and the degree that was offered here only the postgraduate degree. There was no undergraduate at that moment. So it was a special paper under the MSc Physiology. So in parallel, this laboratory undertook research in many hitherto unexplored areas, including physical work capacity, load carrying, shift work, anthropometry, including segmental weight and centers of gravity, agricultural ergonomics, comprehensive studies of different aspects of rice cultivation, tea leaf plucking, and ergonomics of railway operations, design of track maintenance, tube, and many others. So there was a diverse research work on the ergonomics. Later, in January 1979, there was delivering at the presidential address of the section of physiology at 66th session of the Indian Science Congress held at Hyderabad. Dr. R.N. Sen spoke of ergonomics, science and technology, man at work, its role in our national development. For the first time, the importance of the study of ergonomics and the significant role it can play in national development that was established as a major part. So in 1983, a consensus was reached to form an Indian Society of Ergonomics. So as a proposal for the formation of an Indian Society of Ergonomics, it was discussed at Ahmedabad in October 1985, and the society was formally established at an, in January 1987, again at Ahmedabad. So this is the formation of ergonomics in the physiology department under Calcutta University, and followed by formation of the society, ergonomic society. So with this, I'd like to conclude here. I wish all the best for this symposium, and I'm thankful to my teacher, Professor Shumo Gangopadhyay. Uh, I've learned many things during my master's course about the ergonomics, and would like to share one more thing, that is when at my first year MSc, I got the opportunity to prepare the review work. At the time, there was a review work that must carry around I think 50 or 70 marks. I forget it. So that was guided by Professor Shumo Gangopadhyay, and I believe I was the first review student under this guidance. So thank you, sir. Thank you, all of you. Uh, but
Thank you, Dr. Haldar, our head of the department, for giving the talk about our department and also the ergonomics laboratory in Calcutta. So now, may I ask Professor Devkumar Chakraborty to give a talk about our society, Indian Society of Ergonomics. Please.
On behalf of Indian Society of Ergonomics, I welcome you all, those who are present in this hall, the past presidents of Indian Society of Ergonomics, Professor P.K. Nag and Professor Dr. Anindo Ganguly, and those who are present to online, I welcome you all to this event. Indian Society of Ergonomics started from this Calcutta University, from where we are speaking right now, and it is continuing and is spread all over India. And Indian Ergonomics Society is closely working with many international bodies like BRICS Plus Society, ACED, and Federal Society of International Ergonomics Association. We have every year annual conference come our general body meeting, and our annual conference is well known now to everybody almost. The HWWE, Humanizing Work and Work Environment, coming year 2026, the venue we will be announcing today in our afternoon general body meeting, and I request that those who are present in this meeting, I welcome you in that host institute that will be announced today afternoon. So we welcome you for this today's morning session of these 3 lectures. Thank you very much. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, Professor Chakraborty, for giving us, about Indian Society of Ergonomics. And now, because as I already told you, that this symposium is endorsed by the IA Technical Committee, Informal Work, and also by the ICOH. There's another scientific committee, Occupational Health, Scientific Committee of Small Scale Enterprises and Informal Sector. So now may I request IATC Informal Work, the Vice Chair of Asia, he's online, Professor Mohammad Muzammil, to say a few words about the IA Technical Committee Informal Work. So can you please zoom, the Professor Muzammil?
Okay.
Muzammil on the screen. Can you please?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Professor Muzammil, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Gangopadhyay.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. I have unmuted.
No, it's a Suntar.
I am unmute. I am audible or not? Hello.
Professor Muzammil, please wait 1 minute.
Okay.
Yes, Professor Muzammil, please.
Yes, am I audible?
No.
Do you hear me? So, do you hear me, please?
Professor, please say something. We can
Yes,
because
I'm audible.
no.
Probably you are not able to hear me. Yes, I'm audible.
না এটাকে কানেক্ট করি তো এখানকার মাইকটাকে না আমি তা বলছি না এখানে যেখানে তোর মাইকটা আছে সেখান থেকে যে প্রজেক্টটা তাহলে তাহলেই তো এটা আমি রিমুভ করি হ্যাঁ রিমুভ করি ইয়েস ক্যান ইউ সেভ না এটাকে মাইকটা
Yes,
দেন
am I audible?
ইন হুইচ ওয়ে ইউ ক্যান হ্যাঁ ইয়েস
Am I audible?
Professor Mujamil, please say something. Hello.
Hello, 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 hello,
Ah,
hello, 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 hello. Probably something went wrong. Hello, 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 hello,
হচ্ছে?
hello,
Yes. Can you say something, Professor Mujamil?
hello, 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 hello,
এতে অনলাইনে স্ট্রিমিং শোনা যাচ্ছে না
Streaming now.
hello,
তাহলে মাল্টিপ্লেক্স
hello,
Ah, streaming hours.
hello, 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 hello.
1 minute, please.
Okay, okay.
Yes, please. Professor Mujamil.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. 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 Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Sir, now you can speak.
Hello. 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 Yes. Am I audible? Yes. Am I audible? Hello. 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 Hello.
You are audible.
Hello. Hello.
You are audible, so
Hello. I'm
please
audible.
say
I'm audible.
something. Yes, please
I'm audible.
continue. Continue something.
Okay. Okay. Now you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay. 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 Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Really, it is my privilege to be here on this occasion. Mm. Thank you, Professor Somnath Gangopadhyay, Professor Ganguly, and Professor P.K.Nar, distinguished guests, and participants online and offline. So, really, it is a great pleasure to talk to you as a vice chair of IEATC, that is IEA Technical Committee, at this important symposium on design thinking and informal sectors. We are meeting at a point when economic transformation, social inequalities, and evolving labor markets are reconfiguring the meaning of work and livelihood across the world. The informal sector, which is very, very neglected, underestimated, or misunderstood, remains central to these transformations. It demands our attention, empathy, rigorous inquiry, and creative engagement. To show some slides, let me share. Just wait a while, it is being uploaded. So Now it is visible to you, sir? Is it visible? Hello?
Yes, sir, visible.
So slides are visible? Slides are visible? Slides are visible to you?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Slides are visible? Hello? क्या देखते हैं slides visible हो नहीं क्या? Slides are visible to you or not?
Yes.
Slides are visible?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay. So let us start with what IT is. This informal work is this. So we are having our chair as Clive D'Souza and different vice chairs for this IEA technical committee. To start with this, that what actually the informal work is. It is informal employment, refers broadly to work that is not protected by formal labor laws or social security systems, jobs that are unregulated, often not formally registered, with limited or no access to legal protection, social security, or workplace rights. This is the International Labor Organization, which has defined about the informal work. And then on this, a technical committee of IEA is there, which is for to support the development of human factors and ergonomics knowledge and capacity in the informal work sector, particularly in low and middle income countries, while also acknowledging that the informal work sector is present and growing in high income countries as well. So what actually the need of this is, that is International Ergonomics Association established the technical committee on informal work in 2023, recognizing the urgent need to address the realities of the informal economy, which encompasses more than 2 billion workers worldwide. The number is great. These workers operate outside formal contracts and regulatory frameworks, often in small scale enterprises, family businesses, street vending, home based production, and myriad other contexts. The informal sector contributes significantly to the national economies, particularly in low and middle income countries. Yet it remains under-researched and underrepresented in ergonomics and occupational health. So this IEATC care really deeply about the this informal sector, That is, firstly, workers in formal employment are excluded from many protections, that is social security, workplace safety regulations, minimum wage laws, collective bargaining, and unemployment protection. This exclusion leaves them vulnerable to economic shocks, health crisis, and poverty. So, as highlighted by the global data, informal deployment means lack of social protections, rights at work, and decent working conditions. And secondly, we can say the persistence and even growth of informality globally suggests that as formalization stalls, informal work continues to expand. Thirdly, informality is deeply unequal in its impact. That is, vulnerable population, rural workers, less educated women, migrants, small scale enterprises, daily wage laborers are overrepresented. There is a risk not only of lower income but of entrenching social and economic inequality across generations. And finally, in the absence of policy and institutional inclusion, the informal sector, however it is large, remains disconnected from opportunities for skill development, access to finance, stable income, or growth. So this all, it is what really IEATC is going to look at how these things can be looked into for this that TC was formulated. So the role of informal work in DC is this, that the institutions like ours, we can facilitate rigorous research, gather data, understand patterns of informal work, study gender, region, sector, and highlight inequalities. We can promote partnerships across sectors, maybe government, civil society, design practitioners, NGOs, etc. Encourage pilot projects that apply design thinking to informal sector problems. We can advocate for policy frameworks that recognize and integrate informal workers, not just in rhetoric, but in actionable social protection, legal recognition, and inclusion. And we can share knowledge and learning across regions because although contexts differ, there are common challenges and opportunities in informal sector. And this is somewhat the statistics, which is really very surprising. That is, according to the International Labour Organization, more than 2 billion people, that is 61% of the world population, is employed in the informal economy. We can say in absolute terms that 350 million street vendors, 300 million home-based workers, 200 million waste pickers, 120 million domestic workers, and countless day laborers, taxi drivers, market porters, and other who are not have never rather appeared in official occupational health statistics. In low-income countries, as many as 90% of workers in the least developed countries were informally employed. These numbers mean that for a majority of the working population globally, informal work is not a side job, but a means of their livelihood. So, as far as India is concerned, if we narrow down to that, we find that approximately 80 to 85% of India's total workforce is employed in the informal sector. Around 50% of India's GDP share is from informal sector, and informal workers often lack social protection. We all know decent working condition, and this is United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs has given this data. So this is again really alarming. Issues in this, we can say occupational health risks are there. These are widespread. We can have exposure to dust, noise, repetitive strain, unsafe machinery, which are very common in small workshops and street side enterprises. Women in informal work, they are really hard hit. They are balancing domestic responsibilities with precarious employment. Also, as far as informal workers are concerned, they also lack social security, making them vulnerable to economic shocks. These shocks are really very much demonstrated during the COVID-19 pandemic, when millions lost livelihoods overnight. We have organized different conferences and symposia. That is, technical committee has done in 2024. A congress was organized in this. There was a special session on physical ergonomics and psychosocial hazards of informal work. ICOH 2024, a special session on electronic waste and informal work. Similarly, in HFES 2023, Primus 2023 was there, and now the planning is going to underway for IEA 2027, in which we can participate as far as this informal work is concerned. Similarly, informal work webinars have been carried out. Generally, we have every month we are going to have webinars for this. So this symposium is of great significance. With this background, we can say the scale, structural path, vulnerabilities. This design thinking is of great matter for the informal sector. Why we are going to bring these together to theme. Design thinking, as we know, is a human-centered, iterative, creative problem-solving approach. It emphasizes empathy with users, understanding of real-life context, rapid prototyping, inclusion of ideation, and designing solution. When we think informal workers, street vendors, domestic workers, daily wagers, they are going to have their great complexity, uncertainty, fragility in their lives, and these are going to have conventional top-down policy or formal enterprise models. They are going to fail to address these irregularities related to the lack of access to services, etc. So design thinking offers a different pathway. It encourages us to start from their lived realities. That is, to walk in their shoes, to listen to their constraints and aspirations, to co-coordinate. This co-create solutions that reflect their social, cultural, economic context, and it allows for flexibility, adaptability, and context innovation. That is, qualities that a rigid formal framework often lacks. So as we proceed with today's symposium, I invite you to reflect on the intersections between ergonomics, design thinking, and informal work. Let us consider how our research can contribute to inclusive innovation, how our teaching can prepare students to engage with informal sectors, and how our advocacy can influence policymakers to extend protections and resources to these or those people who are going to sustain our economies from the margins. The IEA Technical Committee on Informal Work stands ready to collaborate, to learn, and to lead in this endeavor. So anyone interested and is already a member of an IEA affiliated society like ISC can join our TC by sending an email to the following emails, or simply by filling IEA sign up form and indicative of informal work in the section. The website address is there. Thank you very much for providing this opportunity for introducing this IEA Technical Committee to August members of the body. Thank you very much. Thank you. So over to Professor Somnath now.
Thank you, Professor Mujammil, for giving about about the technical committee, IA technical committee, informal work. Thank you for your presence. Now I'm finding in this, in this streamer. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Now I'm finding in the stream here, Professor Iqbal is there. So can you please make the screen so that we can find? So Professor Iqbal, he is our secretary, Indian Society of Ergonomics secretary. So may I ask Iqbal to say a few words?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So first of all, I apologize I could not be present there physically. This is because of recently this problem, the Indigo flight problem. I had a flight for yesterday, Mumbai to Calcutta on yesterday evening, and today in late evening I had a return flight, but unfortunately my return flight was cancelled, and then my ongoing flight Mumbai to Calcutta, it was preponed from 12th, it was 11th. The 11th I had some other programs here, I could not go, so I had to cancel the ticket Mumbai to Calcutta. The other ticket already cancelled by Indigo Airlines. So unfortunately, I could not be present there. I was as a secretary, and also I was hoping that I will be present in Calcutta with all the team members and present for this today's program. But anyway, hope we will meet in future also in coming days. Sorry, and today's this topic, this design thinking informal work, is a very interesting topic because nowadays design thinking is taking up in all sectors. It's not the product design. When we talk about design thinking, one is that the process design, the business design, the technique design, everywhere design thinking is there. And in in MBA, design thinking is a full-fledged course, and all the industry also, they are now really working for design to educate their employees in design thinking. So I'm sure, and the informal sector, and so I'm sure today's this symposium will be really very interesting symposium, and the speakers are very senior and learned speakers are there, and today after this symposium there is a EC meeting, then GPM. And I'm sure, though we are in mostly, I think people are joining from online from different parts. But let us have this one day meeting, very productive meeting, and end of the day we'll find something new out of this today's overall the training program as well as the meeting. Thank you so much. Over to Professor Somnath. Hello.
Iqbal. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your, for your talk about and good wishes about this, that about the symposium and also the AGM and EC meeting. So now I have to give a very few words about the scientific committee of the ICOH scientific committee. Small scale enterprises and informal sector, because I am the chair of this scientific committee, and this scientific committee also endorsed this this program. And so, can you zoom out, zoom in? Can you zoom me in? Yes, thank you. So this thing actually, that this scientific, there are the 35 scientific committees in the International Commission on Occupational Health, and one of the scientific committee is this occupational health in small scale enterprises and informal sector. And in these scientific committees, where our main objective is to do something for the, for the informal sector workers, how to improve their working life, how to introduce different interventions. And we also conducted different webinars and different symposia and different seminars also on this especially on the informal sectors from our scientific committee. So I can ask you, please join our scientific committee. You can go through the International Commission on Occupational Health, and you can find that the International Commission on Occupational Health will give you option that you can be a member of the 3 scientific committees. So I'm just requesting you to be our member, because more than 90% of the total populations in India, they're directly involved in the informal sectors and small scale enterprises. Thank you for your hearing. Now we are going to our main program, that is our symposium. So may I ask the chair of the symposium, Professor Prakash Chandra Dhara, to come over here. And Professor Prakash Dhara is a former professor in the Vidyasagar University, and presently he is the Vice President of the Indian Society of Ergonomics, and he will give you the introduction about the three eminent speakers of the symposium, and then the symposium will start. Please, Professor, please come on. Design thinking.
Good morning, everybody. Now we are going to start the symposium, the design thinking and ergonomics. It's a very interesting topic. In this symposium, we have three eminent speakers. So first of all, I invite Professor Pranab Kumar Nag to come over the dais. And it's my proud privilege to introduce Professor Pranab Kumar Nag. Probably he is the senior most ergonomist in India at present. And he was a leading authority of ergonomics and occupational health and environmental science. And over nearly 5 decades, he actually worked in this field. And he like safety policy, human-centered design, particularly developing countries in context and allied science and technologies. Actually, earlier he joined a ICMR institute, leading institute, National Institute of Occupational Health, NIOH, known as NIOH, and he actually served that institute as an ergonomist and occupational health expert since 1976. Later, he became the director of this institute and served that institute as a director for a long time. And during his tenure, he actually developed many good advanced kind of laboratories there in NIOH Ahmedabad. And he also assisted to develop the laboratories in different regional NIOH, regional ROCH, that is regional level occupational health institutes. And he actually, his contribution in different fields, his expertise continues to inform the key policy and research, including ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, Food Safety, and the Standard Authority of India. And he joined after retirement from that NIOH. He joined here at the, as a dean and professor and Ramkrishna Mission Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute as a Swami Vivekananda Chair Professor. And he also is there contributing much about the teaching research in different fields like climate change, disaster management, agricultural work system, etc. And he was recognized as an expert of different in global context also. He actually contributed to the WHO, ILO, and various other international collaboration reflect his global influence. And he thought, and he was remained as the committed for improving his working condition in vulnerable populations, in farming and other informal sectors. And actually he has a large contribution in the field of occupational health and ergonomics. And a lot of students also did PhD work under his guidance. With these few words, I request Professor Nag to continue his lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and very good morning to all of you. Couple of days back, Shomna called me up and said, "You have to speak on a topic, design thinking." And the first word, I said, "Good, good, very nice." And then he added another word called informal sector, so I got a little more confused. The design thinking and informal sector is a very challenging thing. Then I said, "Why are you mixing up two things?" Because informal sector is, in usual term, doesn't fall under the formal educational background of design. So how can you have never thought of the speakers, what they will speak on? But they're doing a good way. So I sat on it for a couple of days, and one fine morning, when I was working on this first slide, this one, my wife came from behind and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "They are going in the right direction. I must break that." Then I started reading, recapitulating our greatest writings of our time. Sen's Abulta. Abulta, you know the meaning of Abulta? So I also started going to the internet that what can be the most professional parliamentary word of Abulta. One thing that came out is nonsense, which I cannot really display on the screen that I'm talking nonsense. So then I have to make a serious decision. So I said, why not Kathapakutha or eloquence? And that makes more sense. And that will be my first slide. When I said this one is my first slide, then I started thinking, this is too complicated for me to speak on. Can I narrow it down? I prepared a second slide. The students will realize that he's talking about time. That on a bigger thinking, we're finding out time as a measure, which I normally believe can also be a topic of discussion in the field of design thinking and ergonomics and related area. Time. Can you design time? In the relation between informal activity. Time. Let us wait for some time, go beyond the conventional thinking, and start a little more exercise that if we can really design time in the context of our occupations, our daily life, our living, not life. Then I started recapitulating all little knowledge that I had in my mind. That another meaning of time is Kal. Kal is a word from Vedic terms. Many scholars have written about Kal, many different things. It is a flow. It is always present. It is omnipresent. It cannot be measured by number of hours or minutes or things like this. Very fittingly, my main question is that where do I go into this? So the basic Atharva Ved says the peace and prosperity evolves from the alignment of time, not opposing it, not trying to control it. When I talk about the what time regulations, we are controlling it. 8 hours, 10 hours, some crazy guys will talk about 120 hours. Some Indian guys also talk about 70, 75 hours, 80 hours. Whatever we're trying to control whatever we have available for the purpose. Because time is a scarce, scalable, and it's a measurable commodity. It is not any longer rhythm. It is not sacred anymore. We're making it a commodity of our livelihood. I work 8 hours, I work 10 hours, I work 20 hours, or whatever it is. So these are the basic functions. We rise, the Japanese concept is also very identical, that we rise in the morning, that's the beginning of my activity. And then I go to school, learn it, and the school throughout the life, we continually change our pattern, and then we achieve what is called rhythmic sort of our living. This is again just a continuation of that, because everything is linked to the Shurya. Shurya makes the decision, and it is not anything only in one particular religion. The concept remains in many of the religions. You go to the Chinese Gobi, Buddhist religion, you go to the right to livelihood, and many other. You go to the Islamic practices of rituals they do. Then you go to Persian concept. You will find the concept of Surya is always present, which we are talking about the time in a different form. Across the civilizations, the left hand side, I'm showing these illustrations. Across the civilization, all of them primarily believe that what activity centered around sun. Sunrise, in a Japanese concept, the sunrise is the starting point of your work. The sunset is the starting ending point of the work. And that has been transformed, or what you should say, brought some degree of destruction. That's why the ancient river civilizations are gradually converted into medieval civilizations, which is a collapsing structure. In the modern world, that collapsing, that system does not work anymore, because we are pressured by what is called the scalable time. And that scalable time you can see in monastery form, you can see Islamic administration, you can see in our guild systems, and also at Renaissance. Renaissance, I'm talking about industrial revolution. When you come to industrial revolutions, you will find that we made really rupture. And what people believe all these decades and centuries, we ruptured it. We brought industrialization, we brought orientation, we brought commodification. We are making the capital as a commodity. We are taking digital transformation. But by all that, what we are making is we are creating a disarmament of our time. And if the disarmament happens, Esther, the cosmic form, Esther becomes disaster. Order becomes disorder. You know, in Indian term, earth becomes unearthed. Earth becomes unearthed. And that is taking place. And that is taking place. That's why there is a civilizational crisis we are facing today. Probably ergonomics has a role in this direction. I will come to that one gradually to that point. The first thing started with so-called industrialized countries. Way back, I had to reduce my time of work. I cannot work all alone. It cannot be rhythm anymore. I must control it. I must restrict myself only to this many number of hours. Otherwise, I'll fight back. That is the labor movement that we started of so-called 8 hours. The same thing happened in what is called the Egyptian civilizations. You will find that monuments that were prepared with also a concept of 10 hours, 2 hours. You know, that concept is there, but that was a paradox of the harmony. The same happened in over and over across. Started from 8 hours, it become 12 hours, it become 13 hours, and then there is endless possibilities that the working hours have changed. The hammer came from the International Labour Organization when in 1919. They bring out the first convention number 1. That you have to work only this many number of hours. See that with all we believed about things of goodness for the people, we are destroying. We started making the hammer that will destroy them without thinking that what will happen generations after. That is probably the organized unearth started. Earlier it was not that organized way, but they made it organized because they are allowing other members to adopt that convention. Entire world was asked to adopt that principle of unearth. And then subsequently, endless number of conventions created, and we are saying that okay, India is also signatory to this convention. I believe all of you have read on 25th of November in the TV. There is so much publicity. The government of India adopted new Work Reform Act. Earlier provisions of the Act has been completely changed, effective from 25th of November, where it says this. We are talking about the gender equality. All these good words are there. But they still say equal pay for equal work. Can it really be possible? I ask all the very learned, what is the measurable dimension? Can it be equalized by 2 persons? A person doing X amount of work is not equal to X amount of effort. There is gender discrimination. There is the weaker and stronger persons. There are younger and older persons. So the work, definition of work is broken down to pieces. So fundamentally making a mistake. This regulation cannot be accepted 2 generations after. If you take the sensible car, the 2 population, you have only a small area in the mobility village. And that person is according to you can work or can get equal pay. What about the tailender? What about the 2 tailender? What they will do? They will not get equal pay. So you made it mandatory in a provision that some people will be less paid, some people will be more paid. Some can work in 5 hours, some people can work for 10 hours, so you have to pay. I hope I'm talking sense. If not, you please. That's why I have put in word that একটু জল দাও তো বাবা। Sorry to interrupt. So equal pay cannot be equated to work. It should be equated to the effort. I don't know how. I'm sure there should be a way if multiple minds, head minds work together. Think about the scenario of the worldwide. The annually, how many hours we work? What is left? If we work so many hours, 2,100 hours. In India, we work about 2,100 hours. Whereas on the other hand, North America, only about 1,700 hours. In Europe, it's around 1,500 odd hours. So there is substantial difference in the number of hours that we work. And its implications are very big. And if you look at the odd weekly basis, that Bangladesh works 40 hours, but India, that's why I took 2 birds. One bird, the gray area, which is the informal. I'll come to this with a little more detail. We work up to 72 hours. The another group works up to 48 hours. Those were professionally involved. Now, what is informal workers? What is informal sectors? That's the challenge that today this so-called conventional informal sector does not exist anymore. My colleague from Aligarh just presented. Those areas are only a small segment of the total informal sector. I believe all of you realize that with the change in the transformation of the industry 4 and industry 5 or not, then the characterization of the work is also will change. So the informal nature, it is informal, it's not formal. Informal doesn't mean they're poor. Informal doesn't mean they're all rich. There may be some will be very rich, some will be very small. But there is an informality in terms of the gaps of the work, gaps of the knowledge, gaps of the ideas, all are informal because they're not in the formal. Yeah, you're right. When I said 2 billion people are informal sectors, I have written some words. They all falls under the informal sector. The platform workers, gig workers, digital nomads. There are so many different kinds of working population entered into this profession. They're all informal. And by making this, there is service workers. Somebody is talking about the caregivers. Everybody in our village today, we keep people to take care of the children, take care of the elders. Who are those people? The caregivers. They've been all these years it was unpaid because only those members of the family use help. Today you don't get that. You have to hire people. In Indian context, it is much easier. Still we get it, but you go to the other parts of the world, you go to Europe, you go to any other country, you will find that people migrate from other countries for delivery of the service for the care. And that's a huge sum of people migrating from the other old what is called the pre-division of Soviet Union. They're entering into the Soviet Union again. Many of them are moving to Europe, other from Central Asia, and making scenario is completely different. North American, South American people entering in Canada and US. The scenario is changed. They're all informal, my dear. So, that's why I'm saying that the concept, many 2-3 years back, Ronindo asked me to prepare a curricula for the design of certificate courses, certification in ergonomics, remember? And that thought process, if you ask me today, I will not agree. Because the population dynamics has changed. So we have to rewrite. We have to rewrite maybe the entire syllabi of ergonomics that we ask others to follow. Requires rethinking. There are many great minds are here. So you ask them. You can read it. There are some younger leaders like the people. You can sit together and think about that possibilities of changing the learning process that overcome all these into an order. In case of, as I said, I don't need to show this one because the gender inequalities in this are predominant. The women work much more than the men folks because the unpaid work, most of the things still done by women more in comparison with the others. I don't need, but I wanted to say something about the global north and global south. I know all my younger colleagues know the difference between global north and global south. Earlier we used to talk about the developing and developed. These words are obsolete now. So this identifying the countries by which side of the globe. The global south are more sufferers than the global north because they are economically struggling for emancipation from their backwardness. Let us talk about a little more about the informal sectors, the characteristics of health. If we prolong our work hours. Left hand side, I showed a small scale up to 40 hours or less than 40 hours. You have a relatively poorer risk, lesser risk, and as you progress number of hours, your what is called the risk content is also increasing of different dimensions, which ultimately related to one obvious thing is the ultimate mortality. Mortality of the country is changing because they work longer hours. One of the predominant factors, heart disease, strokes, and all these are substantially increasing. Accidents and injuries are much lower in comparison to mortality characteristics. See the right hand side picture. Right hand side picture, you see one straight pathway to mortality. But on the other hand, you can get injuries. You really don't get mortality. Only cases coming out from Japan, karoshi. Will you remember the word karoshi? Karoshi is a word used in Japan primarily. Overwork death. In China also it's coming exactly the same way. They're working on the computer while they're bicycling to the university. That kind of a what time pressure on them. Right is left hand side I'm showing that each country, the characteristics of the road are different for different occupations. If it's working for occupations, what kind of stress in agriculture, what kind of stress in case of mining, what kind of stress in other categories like construction. In India, for example, construction is a big sector. Very large number of people work in it. After agriculture, probably construction is the second largest employer. People work 24 hours, 24/7. Many people, there is no stoppage. There is a word called, I forgot the word. There's only 2 to 3 hours gap. When the crew is changing from one shift to the other, the gap is only 2 to 3 hours for maintaining of the facilities. McDonald's and Patagonia, and all these travel services, they work 24 hours, day long. Small segment, and that segment I am showing in the graph left hand side. They're in a better position. The moment you move to the right, you are on the culminating situations of all kinds of disorders. It took me quite some time to prepare this graph. Say, it is a unique. If you do less work, you produce less. If you work more, you produce more. This graph clearly mentions this. You have a critical zone. The conventional people think that if you less work, you less pay. But if you work more, you have a less pay and less work. And the example comes from Winston Churchill during the Second World War. He wanted to produce more, but he ended up with a massacre that his ammunition units were producing less than what he was expected otherwise. So, more hours of work does not correspond to more output. That's the lesson. But countries from different parts of the world, they found that some corrections, where is the hope? There is a hope. The some corrections of intervention can bring down all these calamities. Even fishing industries, if you make a structured rotations, then you can bring down the stress level. You can bring down this level in case of what is called this a shift design. By changing the shift design, you can bring down the number of hours worked. Only space limited, otherwise I could give you many comparison of the other countries. GBD. GBD means global burden of disease. Global burden of disease. 1.9 million people die every year from informal sector due to overwork. Due to overwork. You go to the net, you will find overwork Americans. Nobody talks about overwork in informal sectors. You will not find one single article on that. They work much more than Americans do. But they can publicize it. We cannot. Our machinery are weak. So health outcomes are very large because of the overwork, and it can be reflected by occupation-wise, all of them. And if you look at the curved regional distribution, Asia has got 65% of the total deaths come from Asia. Uh, 65% of the total informal sector death comes from Asia alone. So that's a unique thing. Have I taken সময় পাস করে গেছে? হ্যাঁ, বেলা তো যায়। হ্যাঁ, বেলা তো যায়। So the lesson is, the people started talking about make the work decent, make it more protective, make it predictable hours. These are conventional thinking. But that conventional, we are probably reducing unearth level a little bit, but the chaos still remains. We are trying to reduce this unearth a little bit, but we are not moving to the order. Let us come to the conclusions. 3 more slides. What is the problem? One is the abundance of time. We call the time is flowing. It's a river. Another side where time is scarce. मेरे पास समय नहीं है. Example is our professor, our guru. He had no time. All the time running with his bag. No one, not even to say hello to anybody. He was a good designer. I don't like to name somebody. I have searched many places. His tiffin box. Can you remember tiffin box? Huh? His tiffin box?
Tiffin box. Yes.
Tiffin box?
Yes. The folded tiffin box.
I have not found it anywhere.
Folded tiffin box.
He will bring sandwiches into it, of handmade sandwiches, and when he finishes this, it becomes this thing, all folded up. So I was looking for this, but mine has got different kind of it. So it's a paradox. How can I manage this time? And that's the cruelty, I also say. The cruel paradox, how to manage this, the time scarcity. Can I manage 72 hours to 70? I read Elon Musk's statement. I read his book. He is a Buddhist by practice, not by religion. Buddhist. For every exercise he does, he spends hours and hours praying for each that he succeeds. For him, it is not an hour of the week. It is the continuing rhythmic flow. I believe that if somebody of that nature can achieve this one, each one of us can also go to that level. How? You can question me. How? That's another issue. So we have got an ecological, the temporal ecology, that there is a need from the cosmic rhythm to the cultural rhythm to our daily life and to the personal level. We can integrate that. We can coordinate that case by case. Believe Umla, you can take any informal job, we can analyze this in this perspective and bring some solution to this. So choice before us, bring renaissance of time. Question is not whether, we must do it. We must do it. That is my last slide. Wait. That's the unearth, the chaos. The chaos on the left side. Unearth, earth. Scarcity is rhythm. Extraction, regeneration. So you take some of the measure, you counter it towards making it earth. And then probably we can embrace the true nature of time. I come back to the original statement of 1857, the professor Dostoevsky. Dostoevsky. He's from Polish professor. Those days, 1857, when he said, the work enriches us. He doesn't talk about the speed. He doesn't talk about the rate. He says work enriches us. The work is worship. The concept that we believe. He also wrote in those days, work is worship. God can do everything provided we are also helping him. And that's the message that ergonomics can adopt. Not agricultural ergonomics, not industrial ergonomics, not product ergonomics, maybe spiritual ergonomics. With these few words, I end up. So, I thank you very much for your indulgence.
Thank you, Professor Nag, for a very interesting lecture, an illuminating lecture. Particularly, I would like to mention that it's a very innovative idea in design thought process. That is the time design in work. That is very interesting, and for this interesting thought, I request you to have a big applause for Professor Nag. Now, our next speaker, Dr. Arindo Kumar Ganguly. And after completing his education from Calcutta University, he joined actually BHEL, popularly known as Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited, and he is the first ever in-house ergonomist in Indian industry, and he developed the occupational safety lab there, and worked for a long time there in BHEL, and after retiring, he is also actually attached with in the field of ergonomics in different ways, and currently he is also engaged in teaching, in postgraduate teaching in the ergonomics course of Calcutta University. And it is noteworthy that he is at present he is the chairman of ergonomics sectional committee of Bureau of Indian Standard, which is the actually national standard body of India. And he is also the executive committee member of the International Ergonomics Association and chair of the International Development Standing Committee. And he is also, earlier he was the president of Indian Society of Ergonomics, and also he was the past president of the Asian Council of Ergonomics and Design, that is ASET. And with these few words, I request Dr. Ganguly to deliver his lecture.
Thank you, Professor Dhara, for the introduction. Good morning to all of you. There's going to be a quantum jump downwards from what Professor Nag said to what I'm going to say. We'll be talking about the standards, the ergonomic standards in relation to design and in relation to some extent, relation to informal sector. Thank you. So, basically, the outline of this talk will be, first I want to give you a quick introduction to what are standards, then the two basic things about ISO and TC 159, which we'll be talking about, then about global ergonomic standards, about the role of the Indian Ergonomic Standards Committee, and about the Indian ergonomic standards, what we have in India as far as ergonomic standards are concerned, and which of these are related to design. Specifically, we want to focus on the design accessibility standards, and finally, a quick look at what are the benefits of standards, why these things are important, why this talk is important at all. Basically, what are standards? Standards are the whole activity of standardization in the field of ergonomics and human factors covers a number of things. Basically, it covers the principles and processes for the design and evaluation. So, principles and processes for the design and evaluation of tasks, jobs, products, tools, equipment, systems, organizations, services, facilities, environment, almost everything you can think of. But remember, the principles and processes on one hand, and the design and evaluation on the other hand. Then, in order to make them why do we do this activity? In order to make them compatible to the characteristics, the needs and values and the abilities and limitations of different types of people. So this limitations and abilities is where your accessibility comes in. And then these principles and processes are based on human factors and ergonomics knowledge and experience. So we have two things over here. One, we have the International Standards Organization ISO and its Ergonomics Committee TC 159, and we have the Bureau of Indian Standards, which is looks after standardization in India, and its Ergonomics Standardization Committee. So what is ISO? ISO is the International Organization for Standardization. If you translate the French words, it becomes ISO. It's an international standard setting body composed of representatives of different nations. It's not like one body set up in one foreign country. The composition of the ISO is from members from all over the world, and each of them have a vote in deciding the standards. So basically, the standards should be consensus standards. If one country says that no, I can't do this, then it doesn't become a standard. We try to make a standard which is a consensus. So there may be some limitations, but basically they are all consensus standards. In the field of ergonomics, standardization is a relatively recent activity. So if ISO started from 1947, standardization in ergonomics started as late as 1970. So many decades later, and the first committees at the national level were in Germany, which started from the German standardization norm, DIN, and they started it, and the other countries added to it. Now, the focus of the national standardization bodies. Now, I said that the ISO is an international organization, but they are all composed of the different national standardization bodies. So, what these national standardization bodies have their own ideas, they have their own agenda. What is the focus of the national standardization bodies? The first focus of the idea is the need to apply ergonomic principles in the rules and directives. Professor Nag talked about the change in, first of all, we had the Factories Act and we had several other acts. Now, the new Occupational Health and Safety Code has brought them together under an umbrella legislation, the Occupational Health and Safety Code. But still, the problem is that if you want to change a single number, you have to go to Parliament or you need to change the rules at the government level. But the standards have a different aspect. You can change the standards by consensus, either within your country, the stakeholders within the country, or at ISO level by consensus within the national bodies. So that is one reason why you need standards as separate from rules and legislation. Because the laws and regulations by nature cannot be very specific. You cannot say exactly so many centimeters, except for a few things. Usually they say adequate, enough. Things like that. Only in some cases, for example, like chemical values or heat levels, there would be specific values. So these standards were required to specify the ergonomic principles and their applications. The level of the table, the dimensions of the chair, all these things were specified in the standards. And this led to the formation of various ergonomic standardization committees to determine each of these specific dimensions and requirements. The German national laws and European directives started mainly on machinery, especially machinery safety. And the national ergonomic standardization started with a strong preventive and protective focus on this by specifying minimal and maximal values with the objectives of that the tasks do not exceed the capacities of the workers, the injury and illness is prevented, and in much of the half of the Indian ergonomic standards are also, which have been published till 2013, also deal with the ergonomic design for the safety of machinery. So this you can relate to what Professor Muzamil said about the work in the informal sector. One of the primary concern is about occupational health and safety. So to that extent, the standards address that particular point of the problems of the informal sector and also in the formal sector by looking at what would be the design of agricultural machinery, design of the small machinery in the informal sector also. As far as the general idea about international ergonomic standardization is concerned, basically it has been proactively trying to proactively provide optimal working conditions for the physical and mental well-being of the worker as well as the productivity of the systems. So it is not only that we say this will be the height of the table, this will be the height of the chair, this will be the number of working hours. What are the ways in which we can design the work, design of the work, and now the specific idea is on the human-centered design of different activities, processes, equipment, everything should be, the design should be human-centered. The first international standard, ergonomic standard to be developed was the ISO 6385. So if you're talking about ergonomic standards, the mother standard is 6385, which talks about the ergonomic principles in the design of work systems. It was initially published in 81 and it has undergone number of revisions thereafter. And it's the basic ergonomic standard and it has the basic concepts and principles of the ergonomic design of work systems, including tasks, tools, machinery, workstations, workspace, work environment, and work organization. But ergonomics has moved far away from this. So the 6385 is now looked at, okay, this was the mother standard, but today we look at it differently. After that, we had talked about, for example, ergonomics of video display terminals, office work with video display terminals. But today, if you look at that standard, office work with video display terminals, you see that there is no office, there's no such thing as a video display terminal. You would be looking at some projection on a screen, that could be on a mobile phone, it could be on a tab, it could be on a laptop. This video display terminal is not there at all. So concepts keep on changing. So you try to make the standards as technology sensitive as possible, so that, yeah. Okay. So basically there are three types of standards. One, we have guideline standards, where it should tell you what are the things you should be doing, how you should be doing it. Then we have a technical specification, a physical specification, which says exactly what is the value which should be there. And finally, we have a third type of standard called management system standards. So what is the difference between these three things, and specifically the last one? The first one, as I said, tells you how to do it. The second one says what it should be, exact values. And third talks about a system which takes you there, something for continual improvement. So basically, the 6385 standard, which I talked about earlier, is a guideline standard. It tells you how to design a task, how to design things, how to design tools, and it's not the technical or the physical specifications which have to be met. Whereas the technical and physical specifications are covered by different types of standards. As I said, the specification standards, for example, those on anthropometry and control devices. So how you measure anthropometry, how the anthropometric measurement is taken, what should be the dimensions of a control device or a display device. These are specification standards. They say the guideline standards tell you what to do and how to do it, whereas the specification standards gives you specific values. More interesting is the third one, that is the management system standards. It's a framework of requirements and guidelines to organizations or anybody else who is interested to consistently meet the objectives, ultimately leading to continual improvement. So the one which you are very familiar with is ISO 9000, the ISO 9000 series for quality. You are also familiar with the ISO 14,000 series for environment, and now we have the ISO 45,000 series for occupational safety and health. Just because a company is certified to ISO 9000 doesn't mean that its products are of high quality. What it means is that it has a very good system to ensure quality. Similarly, for 14,000, if you have a certification to ISO 14,000, it doesn't mean that you have environment in your factory is super. It means that you have a system to manage the environmental risk. You know what are the environmental risks. You know how to manage it. And in this management of this quality and environmental risk and occupational health and safety requirements, risks, is where the relevance to informal sector comes. Because now many of the companies, larger companies, which are certified to these standards, now start insisting that their contractors, subcontractors, vendors are also compliant to this. So in one way, it gives you additional responsibilities in the small scale sector, in the informal sector, and other way, it gives a certain level of protection, that these are the things which, though you're working for a big company, you cannot be exploited as far as health and safety is concerned, because that company has to meet its define and meet its occupational health and safety risks. So these management system standards are of more useful to the informal sector as far as, other than the design, the specification standards. Now, how are these standards made? These standards are made through a series of standardization committees. As I said, that within ISO, for different types of standards, there are different types of standardization committees. The standardization committee for ergonomics is called the technical committee 159. So that means there have been so many standards before that, committees before that, 158 of them before they started thinking about ergonomics. And interestingly, occupational health and safety is 283. So between 159 ergonomics, the starting of ergonomic standardization to the starting of occupational health and safety ergonomic standardization, that has been from 159 to 283. So that shows how the standardization processes are evolving, and these committees are mainly concerned about what should be standardized and how the standardization activity will be done. These committees don't actually decide the standard. The standards are always decided by a consensus, the subcommittee formed from the national bodies. But there's an overarching committee which sees, what is worth standardizing? Is it important to us? Very interesting. How do they decide what is important to us? If someone, say, for example, I decide that I want a standard on, say, as Professor Nag said, about the working hours. I want to write a standard on working hours. I looked at Professor Nag's presentation very carefully and I drafted a standard out of it. And I presented it to ISO that I want to write a standard on. This is very important, I think. It needs to be standard. There should be a standard on it. So what happens is that this draft is circulated to all the member countries, and certain number of, there has to be a majority of member countries who have to agree to this, that yes, this is the standard which is important to us. Not that it is important to us in our day-to-day life, and at least 5 countries have to agree to work for the standard. It's not that just only one country or 2, at least 5 of these member countries have to work for agree to work for the development of this country to show the level of importance and interest at national level for that particular standard. So that's how it started. That's at the international level. Sorry. So this subcommittees are of different types. It's on the general ergonomic principles, on anthropometry and biomechanics, for human system interaction, physical work environment, and so on. It goes on. This is the basic areas of interest. For example, anthropometry and biomechanics is one thing which we are very interested in. For example, for the addition of Indian anthropometric data into the international standards, the development of standards for force which are different for us and which have never been incorporated into the international standards. And I'll tell you why it's important. When we come to the last slide about the need for these standards, I'll tell you what is the relevance of these international standards in today's global economy. So basically, that was the committees. The standards which have been there are basically, the focus of the standards have been on human body measurements, evaluation of static work postures, manual handling, safety of machinery. This has been there from the beginning. Guidelines for optimization of musculoskeletal work, principles related to mental work and physical environment, especially thermal stress, danger signals. And one interesting pattern which is seen is that in most of these areas there are 3 standards. One standard would be on the terms and definitions. One standard would be on the design of the tasks, and the third standard would be on the application of these standards. So, what are the basic terms? How they can be applied, and how to design work so that those terms, the requirements are met. So for each of those things, you get, for example, if you take human body measurements, anthropometry, you will have 3 standards. The first standard will tell you what are the basic landmarks, what are the definitions. If you want to measure acromial height, where is the acromion, how to measure it, what is the standard definition, like that. So that's part 1. Part 2 will have the data from all different parts of the world, global world, the national standards bodies will be contributing to it. So part 2 has the data. And part 3 is how to apply that data into your design. The standardized methods of applying that data into the design using provided they were measured using your part 1 method. So this is the general standard, not that everything is exactly falls into that structure, but this is the general approach which is followed. So this is the international standardization. What happens in India? In India, the standardization is covered by the Bureau of Indian Standards, and this new symbol is familiar because it's part of the jewelry marks on the hallmark. But basically, it performs the same functions what we described for the ISO globally. The BIS performs the same functions in India. That's why it's called a National Mirror Committee. It's a mirror committee. The same things which were done at the international level are done at the national level. And the specific committee, like for ISO, there was this technical committee 159. In India, there's a specific technical committee, Ergonomics Sectional Committee, PGD 15, which looks after the ergonomic standardization in India. So PGD 15 basically is the mirror committee, as BIS is the mirror committee of ISO. PGT 15 is the mirror committee for TC 159, and it tries to introduce the similar type of structure as is there in ISO TC 159. So, what are the different types of ergonomic standards we have in India? Basically, till 2013, there were 46 standards which were mainly focused on anthropometry, design and for the safety of machinery, design of control centers, design and display of control actuators, requirements for office work, accessible design, human system interaction ergonomics, and the human-centered organization. Afterwards, we have been increasing the number of standards. Today, there are about around 78 standards are there, either at various stages of development, and the specific design-related standards at the ISO level are basically, you can say, some of them are the general design-related standards. As I said, the mother standard being ISO 6385, it talks about the principles in the design of work systems. Then we have 72503, which, as I just now said, it talks about how you can apply the anthropometric data into the different product design systems, the worldwide and regional design ranges for used in product standards, how the technological design application of the data. Then we have 14738, that's safety of machinery, 2282, that's design requirements for ease of use and user characteristics, and 9241 to 2010. 9241 is a ocean. There are about 500 standards within 9241, starting from office ergonomics right up to haptics and tactile design, everything, robotics, all those things coming under different parts of 9241, because 9241 talks about human system interaction. Earlier it had started with the human computer interaction. Today they say there's no such thing. Today what is happening is the human is interacting with a system. So the 9241 series is all about human system interaction and different aspects of human system interaction, right from office work through robotics and artificial intelligence, intelligent systems, up to tactile and haptic systems. Wherever the human is interacting with a system, there's a 9241 standard covering that. Then we have some focused standards. For example, there is the 11064 standard, which focuses on the control centers. So, control rooms and other types of control centers. So, there's a huge range of standards within 11064, which looks at different aspects of the design of that particular product or particular system. For example, within 11064, we have part 1 for the principles of the design. As I said, first of all, the general principles. Then we talk about the arrangement of the control suites, how they should be arranged. Then the layout and dimensions of these workstations, the displays and controls which should be there, and the environmental requirements for these control centers. And finally, how to evaluate whether the control, say, if you're going for an ergonomics assessment, how to evaluate of a control room. You go there, instead of just doing a checklist, you have a specific standard, international standard 11064 part 7, which tells you how to evaluate a control room, whether it matches all the 11064 requirements or not. Similarly, we have standards, design-related standards in India. The general one, for example, is IS 13214. It's a counterpart of the IS 7250 standards which is set for anthropometry. So we have the body dimensions, we have the body dimensional data, and we have not come to part 3 yet. But the data, the methods of measurement are there in ISO IS 13214. Then we have IS 15836, which again talks about the safety of machinery. Specifically, for example, this one, part 2, is about the principle of designing the dimensions of required for access openings. So the number of accidents which take place because people put their hands or other body parts into moving machinery. So there's a standard saying how it should be designed based on the Indian data for the design of machinery to guarantee their safety. So access into the part 1 talks about access into the machinery. Part 2 talks about the for the access openings, and there are different parts within 15836. I'm just giving examples. Then we have 16561, which talks about control centers. and it talks about the design of control centers. And we have 16563, which talks about, again, the design of displays and controls. How the design controls and displays should be there. We have Indian standards for that. Similarly, we have focus standards. Right now, this one interesting one which is being developed is IS 4838 on school furniture. So there was initially there was a standard on the anthropometric data and dimensions for school standard that has been looked at, and now it seems that it's not as simple as that. You need to know what are the different types of situations which are there in the school, the classroom, the other activity work areas, which needs to be standardized, and there the building codes come in. You need, it's not just an ergonomics problem. So that is part one of it, which will cover the requirements for building design and infrastructure. And part two will cover the furniture requirements for different school zones, including the safety requirements. And this is again based on the Indian data covered under ISO 7250 and ISO 13214. Finally, before we come to the last part, before I talk about the benefits, we'll just take a quick look at the accessibility related Indian ergonomic standards. Quick definition of accessibility: it is the extent to which products, systems, services, environments, and facilities can be used by people from a population with the widest range of user needs, characteristics, and capabilities to achieve identified goals in identified contexts of use. Not everybody under every situation. By people identified goals in context of use. So whether you are going to an ATM, a blind person is going to an ATM to draw money, or you are sitting in a class and attending a lecture, they will, or you are going into a lift and going to a particular designated floor, they have got designated goals, they have designated context of use. In that situation, in that defined context of use and with that defined goal, you should be able to satisfy a widest range of users and user capabilities. So what are the standards we have? The first Indian standard is on sound pressure level of spoken announcements for products and public announcement system. So if you're going to an airport and a station, railway station, what should be the sound levels, sound level of the public announcements, so that people access it is fits with the people of the all widest range of user needs, characteristics, and capabilities. Then we have for tactile bars and dots on the lift or any other places or on the metro station, which will guide a visually impaired person to their particular goal, so that they can use the ATM, they can use the lift. In all those situations, if you're going to have tactile bars and dots, what are the ergonomics requirements for that? That's Indian standard is there for that. Then we have one for the age-related luminance contrast of colored lights. So as your age progresses, your color discrimination reduces. So if you have color coding or color lights, if you're trying to convey information through colors, and we're talking about for different age group, then what should be the, if for example, if you're color coding something in a kitchen and older people are going to use it in the kitchen, what should be the difference in contrast and luminance, so that older people can discriminate these things, especially if the information is more of a safety related nature. Then we have sound pressure levels of auditory signals from consumer products. So you're using a consumer, you're using a washing machine, and the washing machine is giving you some beeps to convey information to you. So what is the accessibility requirements of those sounds or any other consumer product? If it gives a beep, how it can convey information, what are the limits for that? Not just the sound level, but the sound levels are there, and other aspects are also another part of that standard talks about the design of the sound signals, so that it convey the information to for different, the widest range of capabilities and characteristics. Finally, I just want to give a 1 minute elevator talk on why standards are important. The first, and to some extent, why they're relevant to our topic today on the informal sector also. So how these design ergonomic standards are important not only to the general population, but also to the informal sector. First is that ergonomic standards boost productivity. So they are used by a large, when they're used by a large and small organizations across a wide range of sectors for productivity and efficiency. So if they're using a standard, conforming to a standard, productivity increases. So if the same thing can be applied to a smaller organization, even if within the informal sector, to improve the productivity. One of the reasons how it does it, and it's not just because I'm saying it does increase productivity. The reason why it increases productivity is because the standards offer an effective way of doing things, because they're already standardized by a group of people, experts in that field. They offer a way of doing some things which save money and reduce costs. That's how they improve productivity. They support health and safety. That I already talked about. The ISO 45001 series, it talks about management system standard for occupational health and safety. So it tells you how to manage the risks. So that it works in both ways. If within the smaller organization, the risks are managed, and a larger organization who employing contractors, who are basically informal workers, they also have to conform to these standards, which overall manage the health and safety risks of both in large companies as well as in small companies. So especially implementing ergonomic standards provide the best practice approach and enable consistent health and safety performance. Then it facilitates global trade. Not only global trade, it facilitates your own trade. I bought this phone recently. Okay. And this phone doesn't have a coaxial jack for audio. I can't use a normal earphone to this. So I need to either have a Bluetooth, or I found on Amazon an excellent wired headphone which plugs into the C-type charging port. JBL, a JBL machine. So I thought, great, there's a JBL product, I'm going to use it, that will solve my problem. When I bought it, I tried, it came, same day delivery, plugged it in, doesn't go in. So I said, oh my God, JBL product, bad design, something wrong with it. So I located a service center nearby and went to the service center. The service center said, this phone, no, this JBL product is not compatible with this phone, and showed me a compatibility list. So though this is a C-type input port, I'm using it for charging and other C-type jacks, that also has a C-type jack. It doesn't go into this C-type port because of lack of standardization. So they have a list, compatibility list, that though both are C-types, all C-types are not equal. So that is important thing. So now the point is that next time when I talk about this in social media, people start avoiding that for this type of phone. So that is how it affects your trade. And now today what we happen, we have these non-trade barriers. We start setting up barriers by using, that is one part of it, that your product is not compatible, doesn't sell, by word of mouth your product sales reduce. But more importantly, harmonized standards. This word is harmonized standard, means that there are standards which are adopted by a large number of countries. As you have seen that some of the Indian standards are the same wording as the international standards. So that means they are harmonized, they are adopted in India, considering our requirements. And so once we say that we are adopting that standard, we can say the company in the small sector, MSME company can say that yes, we conform to that standard. So anybody can sell their product in the global market by saying that yes, they conform to that international standard. So that helps them to boost the global trade. They have more acceptable product design. That's what I give the example. It's a not acceptable product design. Though it says C-type, it doesn't fit everybody. And finally, standards have today become a business need. I think you might remember that what Professor Dhara introduced, when he introduced me, he said that I spent most of my life in a public sector organization called BHEL. In 2000, BHEL realized that it lost a major tender to a company in the Middle, I think to Oman, a company in Oman, because we didn't have health and safety standardization certification. We were doing everything which was there in the requirements of health and safety certification, the management system standards requirement. But we didn't have a third-party certificate saying that we are compliant. When the management got down to it, they found that the costs of, because we were already doing all those things, the cost of implementing and getting the thing standardized across all the total organization of BHL in India, that is so many 5 major manufacturing units, 13 minor manufacturing units, so many sites, regional offices, everything. The total costs of implementing the management system standards for our company was less than the profit from that single tender. So had we had that certification, not just the turnover, the profit from that single tender would have been more than the cost of implementing the standards there. So first, initially, we were doing all these things as a goodwill. That is, we are doing so much things for the worker. It's a goodwill measure, a public image exercise. Today, it is a business need, and it ultimately it reflects on the share price. So standardization, even in India, as today has become a business need. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ganguly, for your very, very informative lecture. And he actually pointed out the importance of standardization in designing. Those who are interested in this, this will be very much helpful for them. So we are at the end of this symposium almost. So our final speaker, Professor Devkumar Chakraborty. I invite Professor Chakraborty come over the dais. And I am very much glad to introduce my friend, Professor Devkumar Chakraborty. He is currently, currently, he is engaged as a distinguished professor at School of Design, University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, UPES, in Dehradun. And actually, he was the former professor of IIT Guwahati, and he was the head of the Department of the Design for a long time. And concurrently, he also had taken the charge as a director, additional charge as a director of Central Institute of Technology at Kokrajhar, Assam. For about 6 years, he was in charge of that institute. And earlier, he was also attached with the National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, for a long time as a senior ergonomist. He worked as a senior ergonomist there. And he has many academic achievement throughout his life. He guided many projects, research projects, and he many students, PhD students, work under his guidance in the field of ergonomics as well as the allied field of ergonomics also. And at present, he is the president of the Indian Society of Ergonomics, and he is the council member of the International Ergonomics Association, IEA, till date. Now, I request Dr. Chakraborty to deliver his lecture.
So welcome to everybody. In continuation of earlier speaker's topic that established that design is an important issue in our life. So, dear friends, with this ergonomics and design thinking, I would like to share with you my understanding on ergonomics and design thinking reference to informal sector. Now, when we talk about design, two words comes in our mind, that engineering design and industrial design. So, engineering design produces means and methods to function, function, delivery, and reliability. For the purpose it is being conceived, and accordingly, various components and links among them are developed. Whereas industrial design looks to use comfort of the design and acceptance by its users, and thus it takes a holistic approach with usability and humane considerations. Industrial design goes one step beyond the engineering design in while thinking of actually used by the users. Now you can see that design ideation with the influence of or with the base of engineering design, the industrial design issues with human usability, ergonomics, relevance, it establishes a trust. While operating or using a product, I should feel trust on it. It should give me all type of comfort as well as the productivity. And obviously, it should not be time consuming. Now the thing is that here we can say, when we talk about informal sectors, standards, and so many things are there. Government and other NGOs and many people, they are working. But people like this and some other informal situations, it is that if I am productive with comfort at home, workplace, and leisure, ergonomics is in effect experiencing usability, universality, and newness. So now the thing is that why ergonomics is there in design. So ergonomics ensures operational comfort. So in production process and services, that also one design. Occupational wellness, safety and health, management issues, how to use those. And in design, the thing that I can directly work with that. I can feel it. I can use it. So in that case, when I am using a product or a situation or a process, reminds me ergonomics triangle, like the fire triangle. That the fire triangle, if the fire, oxygen, and the fuel, if these three are not there or if any disturbance is there, then its intensity reduces. So like that, in ergonomics, we can say that posture, frequency of operation, and the force we applied for that is important thing. So in this case, a task and risk matter comes. We can see that the top level, one lady is working there, so it is a dangerous work. She is operating with some equipment that is also dangerous. And below also we can see that yes, this work person is also not good. But the thing is that whether work is in compulsion or free work, when I am designing a process, system, or a product, whether I am using it with compulsion or at my own choice. Top one is the own choice. So we can relax some considerations there. But in below, it is with compulsion. So we cannot reduce anything if they there, because he has no control over the time, space, and some other activities there. So it requires balancing task characteristics and human compatibility. Machine works with set rules, but when we interact with those things, we are creative in different ways we want to use those products. And that is the thing. So now the innovation and design. Now when we talk about informal sector, we always think of still the industrial productions, industry related productions, but there are a lot of craft issues, some other issues. Like here, one figure we can see that date from Kajur Jaggery preparation. So now the how the or the material they collected. So those issues and whatever special equipment they use for that, those issues, many of us we do not consider that it is also important we need to look into. So here the informal sector means the traditional sector. It comes from generation to generation and they don't want to or they are very reluctant to take a new inputs, then seasonal, in a certain time it is happen there. So the context changes. If I train a specific trade person for something, then within few months or some time they change to some other jobs. Then how that learning, whatever we learned earlier, how he can use in that. So for that, the people who are who are engaged in informal sector, that is also not a same way. Now the thing comes industrial. So here what happened, the specific needs are that workload to consider, workplace to consider, production process to consider, and work tools to consider. And here it requires a conscious decision. So production, the producers mean individual utility innovation and commodities and mass production. I will show something that is individual production. Now here we can say that this tea garden, it is a, people are working there, but they are working with some specific. So the equipment, whatever the safety and etc., everything is considered there, but still people are working something there. But now here on this side, if we say on the right side, sorry, left side, we can say that this lady is making a smokeless oven. It is not provided to anybody. She attended some workshops and she can make her own clay model like this way. So in that case, the training is required, but the material, the local material you can use it. Can we say that it is sustainable? Now the question comes, if whether the modern fuel that LPG can be used with this, then how that interaction can be there. So that those considerations are required and we need to do this thing. So ergonomics enhances business and way for dignity of life for life. By adapting the work environment to human capabilities and limitations, organizations can prevent injuries, lower cost, and foster a positive safety culture. Here it comes an affordability. If everything is done, but if I cannot afford to use it, then there is no issue. So the affordability will also be a part of this considerations. Now the thing is that we are all innovative. We make every day, every moment we are innovating something that suits my requirement. Now here we can say that in the top one, that one person is making a revolving dining table using a cycle wheel. Can we say it is an innovation? Can we say that it is a design innovation? Below, the person is making a roti chapati using a electric iron. It is working. Can we say that it is a good innovation and this should be promoted? So every product has its own dignity, own value. So that we need to think. So here was second, the design ideation should balance with newness and aesthetic preferences need-based utility, human ethics and values. Now, ethics and values, when we talk, here we can say that this is a unique soap dispenser that makes a appearance with a running nose type of thing that you can have use the soap. Can we say that it is a good design that should be promoted and we should make it? Here it comes, when there is conflict, can never be trustworthy creativity. Conflict means the requirement, what I feel and what people think about it, how the society will accept it. That requires to be considered. So, immediate to serve ethics and fantasy, the design is a process and staged outcome of conversion of solution-oriented ideas into reality, keeping in mind the user's perception on the utility and aesthetics, conforming newness and trust embedded in it. If there is no newness, there is no need for any development. The development always goes with the newness. Here the trust comes. Some example of different things that we are creative functions. So at that end, the storage equipment, it is one type of design that we all accept it. Second one is a separator, industrial separator of the egg, that yolk and albumin. That is, so it is custom made. The third one, the C. This is that some development, local development for to save the finger. Is it there? So it can be made, or that whether we require a very big industry or not, maybe local people can make it. The number D, the aesthetics is being overpowered here. You can see the cup with a squirrel and with a very big tail. Now it is very difficult to operate with that as a handle. This tail cannot, it's very difficult to hold it with that load. So now the thing is that aesthetics is good. So the balance is required. Here comes the ergonomics aspects and etc. Now the E, you can see that there is a special type of Komodo, and you can see that how to use and what is the problem. Now here, the F, it is a local innovation. You can see that instead of geyser, how people are using this candle to do this thing. Is it effective? Can we have said that, okay, there is a very big industrial development product is developed, I cannot afford it, so reduce its thing, so it can go to people. It cannot be. Affordability does not mean that you will give less or something like that. Now here, the design is also aesthetic appreciation. That one, that building, that small hut, I feel very excited to see this thing. But I am not sure if I'll be able to stay inside that, because my status, my standard, and the way I stay, I like it. But whether I can use that as my dwelling house. So that matter comes also appreciation versus the need and the upgrades and newness. Now see that why did I think this was a candle, and here you can see that with the Coca-Cola symbol and then how it is made. Can we make a say that this is also newness? Where we need to make that boundary, we need to consider this. Now the utility. You can see that from figure, that kettle, that morning kettle, and that it looks very nice. It is very aesthetic. See, but if I ask someone to do this thing, first he will feel uncomfort and he will put his thumb on that lid so that but it may fall. So this is the mistrust. Trust matter is that what can be done. So in this case, utility, the specific elements embedded in the design should tell about the product usage and appreciate pleasurable utilitarian experience. Ergonomics design is good design. People say that it is ergonomic design. There is nothing called ergonomic design. If I use ergonomic principles in design, it will be good design. So the design is conversion of ideas into a usable commodity and activity. So it is said that when the crude utility is made, the abstract appreciation follows. Like that, you can see that there are three water jugs are there. The last one, it has a very good uh, cover. You see, the second one is also a good cover. You can see that it is a direction of pouring. Now the last one, this side is it and with a spherical ball is there. So now it looks very nice, very fine. But when if I ask you to drink water from that hot can on that, the first issue that ball, it is not comfortable to hold it. Okay, and another difference, okay, this is a physical issues. Now, second is that some psychological or say health hazard also that when it is there on the top level, some dust and dirt may be there. So after lifting it, when I am replacing it, there is no direction how to replace it. So what's happened upside down and etc. it may happen. So the all the dust were upside up, it will automatically make come bottom side and it may contaminate it. So this is also thing we need to consider. Then do we need to discard this design, this form? We can say no, but consider something else that can add it. We may decide. So now the system approach, the design and ideation, etc., it should have to identify or not. In the design, whatever is there, the consciousness, etc., whether I need to identify or not. Now, when someone is giving lecture from this dais, he is not identifying any people sitting here. So it is not to identify any people. But the thing is that if I need to identify something for my action, then it should have this harmony. So in that case, according to design principles like harmony, balance, contrast, color, and texture of this is like that, we need to consider. So one example I can say you that design and trust factors. I need to pour 1 teaspoon tea in many cups regularly. So it is a little difficult for me to consider the 1 teaspoon, it may be less, more, whatever. So this type of product, you can say that there is a piping where it is a little cut out. So every time you make a state and decant it, a specific amount of sugar will be dispensed. So like that. So inbuilt message ensuring reliable operations, that design we can see. So with this, whatever we said, it is a design is a process and method of process. It has three arms: aesthetics and usability, and human aspect. So human aspect. Here the affordability and so the physical, cognitive, and physiological ergonomics is considered here. The interpersonal and social issues are there. So now, the design we can say that is innovative, product, practical, etc. So this is there that everything to be considered. Now the thing is that while designing, we need to see the contextual requirement. Everything to be new. With the ergonomics requirement, many products are developed. This type of product is also developed. This type of product is also developed and people like it. So the new material has come, which people also like it. New development products are there, people like it. But the thing is that whether people have all the newness, but now we consider that how people will sit here. The thing is that in that case, whether the seat structure fits to our body, newness to our body. Our body is like this, it is just reverse. How we can use it? So then it is not possible. So discard the design. Though earlier we were appreciating this design. But the thing is that if the context changes, we don't need to sit for longer time. Then when sitting is not a constraint, this gives an experience. I can approach from any side. Even I can sit keeping both legs, both sides, and then sit arm with back rest, having head rest kind of thing that I can use it. So when context changes, sustainability of a design also takes that stage. So just one example, we can say that design can change the mindset of the a situation. When we buy all the eggs in a shop, then eggs are placed in a horizontal way. But when we carry it with a vertical way. We don't carry this eggs like this way. So then this gave an idea whether using bamboo as a one, we can make something. So this type of a product is made, the bamboo slits, so 3 or 6 eggs like this, that we can make it possible. So you can remove one ring, take out the egg like that, so you can replace it. So whatsoever in the storage also, we can hang all the eggs instead of keeping on a horizontal place. So some space will be saved. So with that, now the thing is that we understand all things. How to get required human information, and who will be qualified information user and provider. For that, there are many things are happening. Government of India has started design and incubation centers, design innovation centers, capacity building in design and entrepreneurship program throughout all technical institutes in India, where each and every course should try to achieve as end result with some design input. And then CBSE schools, from this year, it is started that all CBSE schools from 6 standards, they will have some design courses, design programs. So the design is that ethics, functional utility, creativity, newness, emotion to context. Design workshops are also being happening in many sectors, people. But most of the things, they are marketing and business oriented or social, they are workers welfare oriented. But when it comes to product, this informal sector people, mostly the craft sectors and etc., they make the products as the client wants. So now clients wants to have something, so they change their products to fit their requirement. So the identity of a local product is losing. So now a new thought has come that how to retain the identity of the utility products made by our indigenous people. So that thing is continuing. So with that, so many schools, design schools, college, universities are there. So bachelor degree, master's degree are taught to develop the skills. But there is also PhD program started recently, not to look into in depth into these issues. Now, as per the sustainability matter, we can say that design whether can be taught. Issue of sustainability, if see the egg, when the egg, the force is applied from outside, it kills a life. But when the force explodes from within, it creates a life. So the design thinking, etc., and ergonomics, both relationship will be from within that exploration, not that overpowering. I am the ergonomist, so how I should put my ergonomics thoughts to design. And designer, they should think that I am the everything. I should handle the ergonomist, and I require only ergonomist to give the inputs, not like that. The sustainability in this course will be both. So with this, we wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much, Professor Chakraborty, for your very interesting and illuminating lecture. And he actually covered on more or less all aspects of the ergonomics design with examples. A big hand to him. So now we have completed all three lectures in this symposium, design thinking and ergonomics in informal future. Now, any question from the audience? From all the speakers are present here, and also there are some questions from online listeners. Obviously, the listeners, our speakers will deliver the question answer to that question. Professor Nath first. স্যারকে কি দিয়ে বলবো, কোনটা দিয়ে বলবো, এটা দিয়ে না ওটা দিয়ে, এটা দিয়ে, এটাতে বলতে হবে যে এটাই আছে, দিয়ে দাও। আর এটা এখানের জন্য দুটোই লাগবে না?
Good point. Very good point. There is always a beginning. Who knew that ergonomics will be started here in this Calcutta University? Who knew that ergonomic society will be formed in UK? Who knew that somebody from Poland in 1857 wrote something about ergonomy? So, if you look at the study of, that's why during my talk I talked a little bit about this civilizational development. Across the civilizations, over centuries, they have come out with some kind of a knowledge, probably not in the terminology that we speak today. They had also some kind of a knowledge at that time. They percolated down, and today we are here. We made mistakes. They also made, by today's term, they also made very many errors. How to build these stones to the top of the pyramid. That's an example. If I go to the what is called the South American, Mexican and Peru and other places, these huge structure, they had along the rails, there was a snake drawn. I was wondering why the snake? The snake is a life, and then ultimately when it reaches, it blows. It blows not by itself, but because of this position of the sun at that time. So I believe that what you said, Iqbal, is very good point. Make the beginning. I just casually mentioned spiritual ergonomics. I believe that there will be many takers. There will be many takers on this. Huh?
These comments came from Shantika Das, not from
Shantika Das, okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any more questions?
Ganguly sir. Now please. Ganguly sir. Now, the question asked to Dr. A.K. Ganguly. Huh? Dr. Ganguly is requested to come over here and put some comment on this question. এটা তো করতেই হবে।
Thank you, Shantika. Very pertinent question. Due to lack of time, I couldn't cover it myself, so I wanted to talk about this. The biggest challenge which the researchers face is that the standards which we have are, as on date, more focused or rather oriented towards the organized sector and not on the informal sector. So that is where the problem arises. It so happens that some of them, like the management system standards and some of the design standards like the agricultural safety, machinery safety standards, also impact the unorganized sector, the informal sector. But primarily, the focus is on the organized sector, and this is the biggest challenge.
Any other question? Well, I am also in same opinion with this comment. All the presentations made here are very much informative and very illuminating and very interesting. So I wish to thank Okay. It is also already available in the YouTube, so it can be available. So afterwards, it can be seen also. Okay. Now from the another question, Dr. Devkumar Chakraborty. So I request Professor Chakraborty to come over here and.
So it is nice that you asked me to low cost Yeah. So I think the whole suggestion you made with this question only. Yeah. I think very good question. I think in the low cost but high impact can be helpful. Yes, it will be helpful. So we need to make the awareness. So wherever we go, wherever we meet, we should make this possible. And the best way is that the way each and every person feels, if he works on that, then it is a good one. Okay. Yeah, I think the answer is within the question itself. Yes, it is required, and we need to do the awareness generation.
Okay. Yes, we are also with the same view with this comment. So, on the behalf of the organizer, I would like to offer my sincere thanks to all three speakers in this symposium. I think we have learned a lot from their deliberation, and so thanks are due to them. So, Professor Ganguly. For the final comment, Professor Ganguly is here.
Thank you, Professor Dhara. Thank you, Professor Dhara, for your excellent chairing the session. So now we are at the end of this symposium. There are two works we have to do. Number one, our professor or doctor Amit Bandyopadhyay will give the formal vote of thanks, and then we have to take a group photograph. And after that, we'll go for the lunch, but not for the executive committee members, because we have some meeting over here, executive committee member, but were not in the executive committee member, they will go for the lunch. But we have to do two more tasks. One is the formal vote of thanks will be given by Dr. Amit Bandyopadhyay, and then there will be a group photo.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving me the opportunity to convey the vote of thanks for this half-day symposium, rather, on design thinking and informal sectors. Normally, this is a responsibility which is given to me in all the symposia organized by the Department of Physiology of University of Calcutta. And we are really grateful to all the speakers who have come along to deliver their lectures. And we have also witnessed the lecture of Professor Muzammil from Aligarh Muslim University by online mode. First of all, I would like to, before going into the vote of thanks, I would like to share a few words about my personal feeling on ergonomics. Truly speaking, I am not belonging to this particular field of research. A little bit of what I did after getting inspiration from my teacher, Professor Somnath Gangotpadhyay sir. But the first seminar presentation I did in my life is in Ergonomics conference. That was HWWE 2000, which was held in IIT Mumbai. And that was the place where I came to see these people who are sitting in front of me for the first time in my life. Professor Nag was there. Professor Gaur Gopal Rai was the organizing secretary, if I have not mistaken. And that is also another important incident in my life, because they asked to submit all the documents through email. And I didn't have any email at that time. So for participation in that conference compelled me to open an email ID that is I'm still continuing with in my Yahoo domain. It was a different type of submission, preparation of manuscripts. We had to submit the full papers also through online as well as in offline modes. So first of all, I would like to thank Professor P.K. Nag sir for delivering his lecture. I'm also thankful to Professor Devkumar Chakraborty sir, Professor Anindra Ganguly sir, and Professor Muzammil for giving the lecture today. It's a special moment for me to thank the participants who have participated in online mode. There are more than 100 participants so far I have come to know. And thank you all who have participated in the offline mode as well. I'd also like to express our sincere gratitude to the International Council of Occupational Health and International Ergonomics Association for endorsing this program in their banner. And I'd also like to give a special thanks to Shubhankar, Deblina, Somodeep, who have worked a lot for making this online presentation or interaction possible for this symposium. I would also like to convey thanks to the technical staff who are present here, and also the caterer, because that is another important part of the program, for providing us a good breakfast today. I think all of you will agree, and it is a bit pity for those who are attending online. So that's why I prefer to attend offline whenever it is within my reach. Because my supervisor used to say there are two aspects to attend the conference successfully. One is eating. The first one is eating, not the seminar aspect.
And the second one is to attend the conferences or the particular lectures which you like, which are belonging to your particular field, and try to collect as many as name cards as possible. At that time it was there. Now we are all having the WhatsApp number and phone numbers. But at that time we used to carry the visiting cards. I do not know whether the speakers are carrying now. It has become obsolete. Maybe another design thinking. So thank you very much to all of you for being with us today. Thank you very much.
So I should give thanks to Amit Bandyopadhyay, Dr. Amit Bandyopadhyay, for giving us so many thanks. Thank you, Amit. So now it is the last work we have to do. That is the joint photograph or group photograph, you can say. So that means that someone will take the photograph and also the online participants can see the photograph. In which way we can do it? That's the thing. That's the question. Maybe we should stand over here. So this camera will focus to all the participants and all the speakers. And then somebody will take photograph from that side. Then the group photograph as well as the group display online. Thank you. So just give me a little bit of time to arrange this thing. Online